Welcome to Friday Night Lights End Zone Overtime. What a night. That Xavier-Williamsburg game just ended. Xavier wins it 29-27. We'll come back to that game. You've got some other scores we haven't gotten on.
Yeah, a lot of games we just couldn't get to tonight, and we're going to roll those for you right about now. Should be a 6 box of scores and a lot of takeaways there. Central City wins the Tractor Bowl 44-14. My biggest take, well,
this is the Williamsburg
looks like
game.
We're getting to the Williamsburg game right now. What a game we had. Let's transition to that because we might as well show it. Xavier is one of the top teams, and I credit Dwayne Schulte for wanting to do a home and home. Go to Williamsburg, tough place to play, and they were rewarded.
Credit to both teams, and I'm surprised that if we go to some of the scores here, you can go ahead and go to those tonight if you want.
Yeah, I'll check out the scores. As I was saying, the thing that jumped out to me most is West Delaware fans. Your team started 0-2. But those 2 losses are to Western, Dubuque, and Decorah, so there's nothing to hang your hats about. Prairie gets their first win of the season with a 41-21 drubbing of Senior. And how about Jeff getting the big win to start 2-0?
Jefferson
again.
is going to be on Iowa Live, by the way, this Monday. And Coach Miles has done a tremendous job. They have one of the best wide receivers in the state in LJ Nenow, and that's an impressive win for them tonight.
That's exciting stuff. Regina goes 2-0. They beat West Liberty last week, and a win at Mid-Prairie doesn't mean nothing. Any other takeaways from you out of the 6 box?
Big win for Central City. They keep the Tractor Bowl trophy.
That's huge.
They've had that. They've had some pretty good teams lately. Central City used to be the other way around, but Central City is now taking it to Springville. That's a great series, by the way. They play for a little John Deere tractor, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, those 8-man games are a lot of fun. We'll get to 8-man in just a little bit with your game.
All right, let's go back to Xavier in Williamsburg, 29-27. An incredible football game, and boy, they played so hard and did it all tonight. Both teams showed the ability to throw the football and run the football.
Yeah, I credit Kurt Ritchie for putting the ball in Grant Hooker's hands, the senior quarterback. And for Xavier, you have Cash Parks, just a sophomore. Dwayne Schulte's like, if you could play, you could play. I don't care if you're 14, 15, 16 years old. And these teams were just going at it. This is one of those games that you hope you can get a game on KCRG 9.2 like this every week. And the 9.2 crew did a fantastic job with it. How about this punt block by Williamsburg? You know, that could be the difference between a lot of dome teams and non-dome teams, is those special teams plays, kickoffs, punts. It really shows depth when you can have punt return guys block a punt like that, really give some life into your team. But Xavier, their ability to punch back after getting punched in the mouth is so impressive, and they do it so consistently year in, year out.
I can't say so much about the Saints. To be able to go on the road and beat the defending state champs like that says a lot. I think we're going to see both these teams in the Dome and maybe playing for titles again.
As we said, I think I said this last week, is with Xavier, sometimes with the names on the roster, you might not recognize them, but Dwayne Schulte has built up enough cachet, pun not intended, with the name of their quarterback, to just say, yeah, I don't care who you got, you're going to be fine.
When you're young and you want to grow up and play for Xavier, and these kids see the state championship teams ahead of them. I think they only returned 3 starters this year.
3? Yeah, that sounds
and then
about right.
I have a new quarterback that's only a sophomore.
Yeah.
And you go and you beat the defending state champs.
And that's no head-hanging moment there for Williamsburg, because they're going to be just fine. It's just they have a pretty loaded team. It's just 3A in Eastern Iowa happens to be very loaded as well, with your Solons and your Mount Vernons too. So Williamsburg might take another loss.
Yeah, we'll see. Those are going to be some great games down the road. You were at Clear Creek Amana tonight. They hosted second-ranked Solon, and obviously that's a tall task for a brand new coach there, but he's been around, but still, that's a tough one for your home opener.
Lance Peterson was pumping the boys up, and they held Solon off for quite a while until late in the first quarter when you had this touchdown run from Big Eddie Johnson, 6'2", 210. This guy came off a turnover, short field, and Johnson goes up to get it. Ty Bell, the quarterback, with a nice throw. And the Solon student section showing out. They did a great job in Clear Creek Amana. Credit Clear Creek Amana for playing them tough. Late in the second quarter, we saw a touchdown from CCA off a big, about a 40-yard pitch and catch from Conlon Poynton to Owen Rosenberg, and then Poynton kind of just QB snuck it in, but it obviously was not enough. Solon goes to 2-0 on the season. They're kind of a quiet number 2 team in Class 3A. You got to remember, they took a loss last year off the top to, I believe it was Assumption.
Yeah.
Then they won something like 8 or 9 straight before losing to Williamsburg in the Dome. This is a Solon team that could get to the Dome. It's got to go through the run game and Eddie Johnson and controlling the clock.
That's the key. If you can run the football, you can go a long ways because it's going to get cold out. And they've got Big Eddie to hand the ball to when it gets cold. So you got to think that they could make a run this year.
Yeah, and I think CCA is going to be just fine. It's just a young team that's learning. And as I said in the show, Solon is a measuring stick kind of game. They're the bouncer at the club in Eastern Iowa. Like, if you could beat Solon, you're a contender. If you can't beat Solon, doesn't mean you're not a contender, but get to the back of the line, try again. And watch out for Maddox Kelly, the sophomore, 5'10", 175, who picked up a fumble recovery that led to that Johnson wide receiver touchdown. He is a guy to watch, only a sophomore.
It's hard to beat the bouncer. Yeah. Let's go to the 8-man game I was at tonight in Marengo. I had a blast. Iowa Valley beat Waco 56-33. Our athlete of the week, Nolan Kriegel, at quarterback, had 10 touchdowns in the opener earlier this year. This was a hard-hitting game early. No score after the first quarter. Everyone getting hit, including the guy that running the chain gang. Luckily, he was all right. Then they really heated up in the second quarter. Nolan Kriegel, instead of his legs, showed off his arm. He's got a 6'9" wide receiver. Caleb Hawk, another athlete of the week from basketball, made that catch right there. And he's got a lot of great receivers. You know, normally earlier this year they would run the ball, but it was tough sledding tonight, so they went to the air and showed they can do both. And Waco has a tremendous quarterback, so they were going back and forth tonight through the air most of the time. But very impressed with Nolan Kriegel, only a sophomore. As I said, he had 8 rushing touchdowns and 2 passing in the first game. Then he comes back and really throws some nice balls tonight when they really needed it, because they struggled running the football. They knew he was going to run it. They stacked the box as much as you can in 8-man, so they had to go over the top. They win at 56-33 to go to 2-0. They lost big to Waco last year, so this was a huge win for Iowa Valley.
These 8-man games could be very exciting as Iowa Valley goes to 3-0. A certain coach we cover a lot often says, I'm no quarterback expert. I'm no quarterback expert, but it looked like Kriegel, even as a sophomore, had some nice touch on those passes.
He had great touch tonight. I was impressed. I didn't know how good a thrower he was. He's obviously a talented athlete, can run, really good wrestler, 6'3", good size, but he showed off that ability to throw the ball with the touch tonight. And when you've got a 6'9" wide receiver in Caleb Hawk, who is now being recruited by Iowa State as a tight end, Minnesota Gophers, a lot of people going after him because he can move at 6'9", and he can really jump. So that's a talent, and he showed off his hands tonight. Looks really good.
They don't often make guys that big out in Marengo, but when they do, the D1 schools start to call. And if Iowa Valley, if the Tigers get to the Unidome, there are going to be some teams out from Western Iowa coming in like, who the heck is that guy?
Yeah, because he's tough to match up at 6'9", because he's a basketball player,
fast,
knows how to use his body. So they really need to use him, because it is tough to run the ball when they know you're going to run it. So you got to be able to do both, and they proved tonight, Iowa Valley, they could do that. Let's talk about another game tonight. Liberty beat City High, which you would call a rivalry game now, 49-20. So they beat both Iowa City schools.
That's really impressive for Liberty to do it under Scott Chandler, the first-year head coach, and credit Chelsea for shooting these great highlights and getting the late fourth-quarter interview with the running back Sutton Kohler. Liberty is not your older brother's Liberty these days. Yes, they can throw it, but they want to pound it down your throat with those 2 running backs, and I think they do a really good job. Sutton Kohler is the senior you got to watch for, and Owen Drapo is also a senior. 24 is Kohler, 23 Drapo, and they both can really run it down your throat. Credit City High for going to play Joliet Catholic out in Illinois. That team is big. That team can really play. And City High, if they make the playoffs, that game is going to serve them well. And this game is, quite frankly, going to serve them well. Liberty has been, I think, a team that has been just knocking on the door of the Unidome. What they've lacked over the
years is defense. And now it seems like they've got a defense to go with their offense.
Yeah, and I think it's only getting better. I think Coach Chandler is going to look at the film and say, we did a lot well, but there is still plenty we can fix. 20 points to City High on the road. That's not bad, but
love the rivalry
Chandler's
trophies.
The Zeus.
And how about the job Scott Chandler has done to come in there as a new head coach and start the season beating both of your rivals like that? I mean, that's pretty special.
Yeah, to do it against West and City High, they're not just any rivals.
Well, West beat Urbandale tonight.
Yeah, those are kind of 2 of the best two of the best, most historic schools in Eastern Iowa when it comes to football. Liberty is not very historic. What, 6 years they've been, and Scott Chandler is able to just pick it back up. And these guys really love playing for them. This team, it looks a little bit different than, as I was saying, than last year. Not as much throwing, more running, but the same kind of attitude towards pounding it right down the throat of the other team.
What do you got a prediction for tomorrow? Am I putting you on the spot?
Cyhawks? You're Cyhawk.
I won't make you do it.
All right.
I think it's going to be
sealed, guys.
Somebody's going to win by a field goal. How about that?
You know what my prediction is? I think an Iowa kid makes the difference. Last year we saw Ethan Herkett. This year it could be one of the Southeast Polk guys, Abu Sama or Xavier Nwampa. Could be a John Klosterman,
How about that
former City High
when
guy.
he comes up to make the tackle on his former high school teammate?
I was talking to X, by the way, earlier on Tuesday, and I said, have you talked to Abu Sama? And he said, we haven't talked yet. We talk after the game. So I don't know if they'll have nice things to say to each other after the game, but we know it'll be a good game on Saturday.
All right, enjoy the game tomorrow. We'll see you here next week, everybody.